Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 72 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. The podcast where we pull back what's often seen as the glamorous and sexy curtain of entrepreneurship. And I interview business owners and entrepreneurs from all around the world, talk about their journey, their struggles, their challenges, their successes. And my guest on the show today is no exception to that. Maggie Dong is a fitness and life coach who helps women master their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual fitness, the 4 keys, which I know we'll be talking about, so that they can attract relationships and lifestyles they desire. Maggie is also a fellow podcast host with her podcast, The Mind Muscle Enlightenment. Maggie, welcome to the show, live from San Diego. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. We were just talking about off camera before how everything shut down there and how, of course, Christmas has been a little bit of a different story this year. And how I asked you, what will you do for New Year? And your reply was?
Not much. There's nothing open except the beach.
That's right, the beach. And like we talked about the possibility that there could have been some sneaky gyms open, not mentioning any names, but the impact that's really had for like people like me and you who like to go to the gym once, maybe if not twice a day, and how that's really like our church. You said to me that it's the place where you go, if you've had a not so great day, to exercise, all that stuff, and really kind of leave it there. It gets left there on the gym floor, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great place to just exercise your physical, mental, and emotional health because you involve your entire body.
Yeah, it really is. And I think has had a huge impact on people this year, and we talked before and we were like, isn't it crazy that they close the gyms, they close all the swimming pools, they close all the tennis courts, they close all these places where people can do their hobbies and do their exercise and keep their physical and mental health well, but they leave the liquor stores open. And it's like, how does that make any sense on the face of it? It was the same here in Australia. Fortunately, a lot more things are back open here now. I hope it's not long before it's the same where you are as well. But it's just crazy that that's how it is, that like as humans, we've come to accept the fact that it's okay if we can't exercise and take care of ourselves, but it's fine if we can drink alcohol. And it just seems like a bit of a upside down balance to me.
Right. I mean, if we really want to take care of our health, we would go to the gym and we would eat healthy. We would go move our bodies and go outside and be in the sun. But I think most people, what they're doing is staying home and watching TV and, drinking alcohol.
Yeah, exactly right. Just drowning in the sorrows. And I think that, for people like me and you, Maggie, we're still young people, thank goodness. And we can probably bounce back, right, from having a couple of months out from the gym, a couple of 3 months out from the gym. But, if you're a little bit older and you find them, as metabolism does slow down when you get a little bit older, gains are a bit harder to get, and fat becomes a little bit harder to shift. So I think it would have had even perhaps more of an impact on older people, people get past 40 and 50. I think it will have had an even bigger impact on not just their physical, but their mental health as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, we can get back into the gym and we'll probably put on the muscle back very quickly. But for other people, maybe they haven't been working out for as long, or maybe they're a little bit older, it is going to be a little bit more difficult.
And I don't know about you, Maggie, like the gyms they really started to close here like April, really March, and they only really opened back up properly 6 weeks ago. And when I say properly, I mean like no masks or anything, all that stuff, because it's just kind of weird working out with a mask on. You feel like someone out of some kind of Marvel movie or something. It's just weird. I just couldn't. I never got into like working out at home. I did a little bit of it, but I just couldn't. For me, it's like it has to be Metallica in my ears, and it's the place that I go to the gym, and that's where I get it done. Like, how about you? You've been working out at home or?
I did a little bit at home. I got a pair of dumbbells and some resistance bands, but it's so different because when you go to the gym, that environment just gets you fired up and it gets you going. But when you're at home, it's like I'm, eating in the same place where I'm working out. So it's just different. And I think we had our gyms closed in probably March or April too. And back then I was in LA, so in LA the restrictions were even more crazy. But then they started opening up, I think, in June, maybe early July for a while, but then you had to wear a mask, you had to wear gloves too. So we were like wearing rubber gloves to the gym. And and they
Really?
started shutting them down again until I moved to San Diego in August, and there are some gyms that are open here and the restrictions are not as crazy.
Well, that's good that there's a couple open. I bet they're pretty busy.
You have to make reservations to work out for most of them.
Mm.
So before you go, like the day before, they'll open up a certain amount of slots for like a time period, and then you have to make a reservation. And if you don't make a reservation, you can't work out.
And if you miss your reservation, then you miss your workout as well, right? So
Yeah.
for people like me who aren't always great at being on time, when it was like that here, it taught me to be very much on time. So there are
Oh yeah.
some little wins to come out of it, as there always is with everything.
Yeah.
So tell me about your journey, Maggie. Like, how did you get started? Was it a fitness coach first and then a life coach, or like how did that all play out for you?
Yeah, I was a fitness coach when I first started my business, and I expanded to life coaching because I realized that I didn't just want to focus on the physical part. And honestly, I was getting a little bit bored just talking about how to eat and how to exercise because there's only so many ways that you can talk about that. So I decided to expand to the 4 areas of fitness: the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, because I realized if we miss any one of these areas, we would find ourselves living an unfulfilled life because there is something missing. So it's important to balance out these 4 areas of fitness. And how I got to this point was coming from my own journey, because I realized in my own life, since I was dealing with depression, anxiety, and grief from loss, and I realized that if I didn't deal with these things and I only focus on the physical aspects of my health, I would still be in this very negative and dark place until I decided to deal with these things. So I think it's important to focus on the 4 areas.
Yeah, it is, and I think they're all connected. Like everyone knows about physical and mental health. Everyone's heard of emotional health, but and fitness to that regard. But spiritual fitness is one that people would be like, wow, spiritual fitness. They'd be like, I've heard of spirituality, but like, how would you say you improve your level of spiritual fitness?
I actually got that question earlier today too, because people were just interested every time I talk about spiritual fitness. They're like, what is that? So spiritual fitness to me, I see it as something that we practice every day, because fitness is implying that you're constantly getting better. It's not just a one-time thing that you do. So spiritual fitness is really listening to that inner voice. So we all have our intuition. That's also your gut feeling. You can call that. So your intuition is always telling you something, but most of the time we don't listen because we don't even care to listen, and we don't stop and sit still for long enough to listen because we're always trying to do something. And when you're caught up in being busy, you don't hear your intuition. So the spiritual fitness is really, I think meditation helps a lot with that. That would be a very good place to start if, you've never been able to tune into your intuition. During your meditation, when you're able to quiet your mind, you can start hearing that inner voice, and that inner voice is guiding you. somewhere and is telling you things that maybe you don't yet know with your mind.
Yeah, I think so. I think meditation is a great place to start on anyone's spiritual journey, just to get that quiet time. I remember when I started doing it, and it was probably maybe 4 years ago, and I actually found it was interesting. I found it easy to start with, and then as I got more and more into it, I was like, how is this getting more difficult? How is it easy to start with, and now it seems to be getting more difficult? It was strange for me, and I think it kind of goes the other way for most people, that they start out and it's quite difficult to start with, but then it gets more difficult as they go on. But I think it's like, I'm not sure what you think about it, but it depends how your day has been, of course, right? If you've had a really hectic day and you're stressed about something replaying over in your mind, it can be quite hard to get to that quiet place of meditation and just let it all relax. And for that point, I find it easier to do it first thing in the morning, before you do anything else, before you look at your phone, before you interact with anyone or anything that's kind of digital in any sense.
Yeah, I do it first thing in the morning, and sometimes during the day if I feel like I just need to calm down, because when you find it most difficult to meditate, I think that's when is the best time to meditate, because that's exactly what you need. Because when you're stressed out, when you can't stay calm, when you bring yourself into meditation, at that point, you kind of bring back that stillness and you stop the anxiety. So, I mean, there are some days where it's more difficult than the others. Some days I can get into that meditative state very quickly. I just sit there, close my eyes, and I'm there. But there are other days where I'm trying so hard and my mind just will not stop. So it takes a little bit longer on those days.
And do you have like a particular method you follow? Is it always the same? Is it guided or?
I personally don't do guided. I just like to be in my thoughts, but I do listen to music. I like meditation music. I think that kind of helps you calm down if if your brain is running too fast.
Yeah, I think you made a really interesting point there as well, which was quite the opposite to what I said. It was like, when my day gets busy and everything gets hectic, I find it really hard. Then after that, at the end of the day, to meditate. But what you said is that's the time when everything's hectic, you should take a minute to actually do it. And I think that's probably some great value in that, because you've then overcome the challenge of the really noisy part of your mind. So thanks for that hot tip. I'm going to give that a try.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know how that goes. It helps.
Yeah, well, for sure. And then how did the podcast come around? Was that as a result of after this stuff, or like in the middle of it, you just thought, I'll do this, or?
Yeah, it was actually when I was still doing fitness coaching, I started the podcast, and it was at first called Mind Muscle Movement. So I was only focusing on the mind and the body, and I was talking a lot about working out and nutrition and mindset behind all of that. But then as I expanded into life coaching and the 4 areas of fitness, I changed it to mind muscle enlightenment, because I wanted to create this embodiment of mind, body, and soul, because I connected the soul part of our existence, of our life, and I thought it would be important to incorporate that into the podcast.
Yeah, no, I think it is, and I think they're 4 great topics. Like, if you had to pick one out of the 4, which one would you say needs the most amount of your time to keep like well balanced?
I think it depends on the person, but for me, since I've been doing fitness, my physical fitness for so long, like it just comes naturally to me. So that doesn't even require that much of my attention. And when it comes to mindset, that also comes pretty naturally to me. And emotional fitness was the one that came a little bit later. So it was about processing my emotions, because I didn't used to be able to process or control my emotions. So that one came a little bit after the physical and the mental. And then the spiritual, I would say for me, that one is what I dedicate most of my energy to, because the spiritual fitness, it's complex, but also kind of simple at the same time. I think it's just our minds make it so complicated when in reality it's not that complicated. So it's about diving deeper into the truths and really figuring out who we are. So I dedicate a lot of my time to the spiritual aspect.
Yeah, and I think in a way, I would say, from my opinion, like the spiritual is the one that needs the most amount of repetition. Of course, physical needs about a lot of repetition as well, particularly when you're first getting started into it. But the spiritual, even in the long term, long term, because so much happens to us in life, it needs just as much work as it does right at the start, as it does 2, 3, 4 months, 3 years in. It's something that is constantly changing and evolving, as we all do change and evolve as people.
Absolutely. And the spiritual aspect is really about unlearning a lot of things. And it's not about adding on more things to what you already know, because the spiritual aspect is peeling back the conditionings that we've been taught. Because growing up, for example, why do some people have the issue of perfectionism is because they learned it over time that, oh, they have to be perfect in order to feel worthy, in order to feel like they're good enough. But the spiritual aspect of fitness is unlearning those things. So figuring out, where did I learn this from? And now how do I let go of that? How do I peel back that layer? Because it's not true. You don't have to, be perfect to feel worthy. So it's about unlearning the conditionings that we've been taught.
Yeah, unraveling it and unlearning it. It's definitely an interesting point. What do along like the journey of fitness and life coach and kind of marrying these four things together, and of course podcasting, you've obviously got a lot going on there. Like, what was and I always ask this question, like, what has been some of your biggest challenges? Because I know that's a space when we meet them challenges and when we overcome them, that's where we find a lot of growth.
I would say at the beginning of my business, I focused way too much on the strategies because I was looking at what everyone else was doing. Oh, like, here's the best marketing strategy. How do you make sales and all that stuff? Not realizing that I can have all the strategies for business, but if I don't have the mindset behind that to apply it and to make it work, then it doesn't work out. So it's the same thing with your fitness journey. Like, I can give somebody the best diet, best nutrition, exercise plan in the world, but if they can't apply that with the mindset behind it, then it doesn't work. So my biggest challenge was, for a long time, I didn't know what was wrong in my business because I was doing all the strategies. People were telling me, this is how you, do marketing, this is how you do sales. And I was doing all of those things, but nothing was working. But it's because I was the problem behind all of that. It wasn't the strategies. It was, I didn't have the mindset to apply that and to really put myself out there, because I was dealing with imposter syndrome. I was dealing with perfectionism, unworthiness, and overgiving, even not being able to set boundaries for myself. So I was overworking myself. And it was an interesting journey to to look back on and realize that I was the one who was holding myself back the entire time.
Hey, you're back. I don't know what happened there. It's all good. Welcome back. Sorry about that, folks. These things do happen when you're doing live shows. So let's go from that. The challenges, the things that you had to overcome, and you know, it was often is yourself, isn't it? Like sometimes I say that like everything you actually need, we look all over the place for it, and often it's right in front of us. And that's the same for the issues and the problems and the challenges too. Sometimes, you know, we're blaming all these external things and these existential things when actually the problem's within us, and we've got to figure out what it is and work through it. But let's switch up from that. Like, tell me about some big wins and some triumphs that you've had as a business owner and an entrepreneur in them kind of multiple aspects.
And I think the big win that I can remember comes right after the challenge, because you know, when you're at your lowest point, you think that this is you know, not gonna work. But when you come out of that moment when I realized that I was the one who was holding myself back the entire time. And I remember this one day I went to the beach and I just broke down and cried because I couldn't make anything work in my business. I was trying everything and nothing was working out. And I came to the realization that maybe it's my mindset. So then I started, you know, working on my mindset. Even just that day, I went back home and started journaling, figuring out, why do I not feel worthy? Why do I feel like an imposter doing this? And I kid you not, the very next day, I started just signing on clients like crazy. So it was that mindset work. And I just realized that it was me, my mindset was holding me back the entire time. And this whole time, things were not working out. But it was just something clicked that one day, and everything just started taking off from there.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it, once you realize again what the issue is. And something that you said there about writing it down, like I think there's great power in journaling, and really in the physical, the mental, emotional, and spiritual, you know, keeping them all balanced and healthy. I think journaling has so much value for all of them things. Just that energy, like for me, of for anyone, I think, of just like, I've got a journal right here, so I'm going to use an example, like of the energy coming from your brain down your arm in the pen and just flowing out onto the paper. It just holds so much value, I think, for anyone.
Absolutely. It helps just, you know, process your thoughts, because when you just have everything going on in your head, you're not able to connect the dots. I find it's a lot easier when I write it down to then just realize, oh, this connects to something that I wrote the other day, and then these pieces start coming together.
Yeah. And it's not long then. I mean, like for you, there it was next day. You wrote, I guess, what you wrote it down that night, went to bed, woke up next day, boom, clients are hitting you up. It's just like, it's whatever. It's so much to do with mindset, and like what you predicate. Your mindset creates your beliefs, then your beliefs cause your actions, and then your actions cause your results. It's like a chain reaction of things.
Absolutely.
Now, the word hustle, of course, it features in the title of this podcast, The Hunger for the Hustle. I'd love to know, like, how you, Maggie, define the word hustle and what has driven your hunger for it, particularly at those low points, like you said, when things weren't working out for you.
This word hustle, I think it's very interesting, because hustle, people think it's like being busy, and I don't believe hustling necessarily means you have to be so busy all the time. Like, the goal is not to be busy. The goal is to be productive. So it doesn't matter how many hours you're working, because I mean, I've worked at the beginning of my business like 15 hours a day trying to make things work, but nothing was working, because in the 15 hours that I was, you know, working, I didn't realize, first of all, my mindset was holding me back, but also I think I just used it as a way to almost like clock in and clock out. Like, I would wake up and then start sitting in front of my computer, and I don't even know what I'm sitting there for? It's just I'm just there staring at the screen, trying to add up the hours and just thinking, oh, I just worked 15 hours a day. I am, doing so much, but I didn't actually get that much done. So I think it's more about being productive than how many hours you're working or how busy you can be, because the goal is not to be busy. The goal is how much results can you get. So I think the word hustle, to me, it just means doing the things that will actually move you forward in your business, in your life, instead of trying everything, instead of just getting in the hours, actually putting in the work that is going to get you results.
Yeah. Actually putting, like, making, if you could say, like, making the hours count instead of counting the hours.
I love that.
That's an important thing, right? And I think that comes down to, like, having a bit of a plan, a bit of a schedule, whether it's like in a short form, just a to-do list, 10, 5, 2, 3, whatever items you need to get done. Or if it's like, and I've tried this and it did not work for me, and some of my friends laughed at me, having like, okay, I start at 8, so from 8 till 9 I do this, from 9 till 10 I do this, and then I have like half an hour break, and it was just stupid and hectic and ridiculous. For me, it's like comes in that short form to-do list.
Yeah, I've tried that too, where I would have my Google Calendar and I would just have every hour planned out throughout my day, but it's way too rigid. And I think that's why, that's not why I signed up to be an entrepreneur. Like I'm running my own business so that I can have flexibility in my schedule, not to, make this rigid schedule that then I'm pretty much like a prisoner of my own schedule. So I think having a little flexibility is good.
Yeah, definitely. That's, like you say, that is why you become an entrepreneur, right? That's why you have your own business, so you can manage your own time. Your time is your own. You're earning your own money. You're on your own schedule. Now, at the start, I think that's what everyone thinks they're going to get, and actually, at the start, that's exactly what you get the opposite of. It's kind of can be hard to earn the money at first, and when you're really having to put in those extra hours at the start, when you're in building phase, you can certainly have a lot. Actually, I found when I made the switch, which was in September last year, from working for someone else to doing my own thing, I had a lot less time at first until I kind of figured out how to run my days better. So, yeah, I think that can be a trap that people can fall into, that they think straight away, like, I'm going to have all this much time and I'm going to be able to do what I want all the time. I mean, you can, but that's the goal, right? That's where we get to, of course. But at the start, it takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more just hard work. There's no substitute for it, really.
Right. Yeah, it does.
If you had to start all over, I haven't asked this question for a while, actually. If you had to start, like, if you just imagine, sit with me for a second here, it's not going to happen, but imagine it did, that you just, everything you built up, you lost tomorrow and you had to start again. Would you do anything differently? Would you do like in a different method or a different format?
I mean, now I know better. So I think it'd be a lot easier to build everything back up, because at the beginning I was doing all the mindset work, trying to figure it out. And now, I mean, I know the steps that it takes to get there. So I think I would just ditch all of the mistakes that I made at the beginning, because I mean, I made so many mistakes at the beginning of my business, and I was investing in the wrong things, wasted a lot of money investing in different things. So I wouldn't be doing that anymore. I would just take the path that I know is going to work and just block out all of the noise. Because I mean, everyone is telling you to do something different. So if you're taking all this information in and you're trying everything out, you don't know at the beginning what's going to work and what's not going to work. But I mean, now I know, so I just wouldn't be doing all of that. So it would save me a lot of time and energy.
Yeah, exactly right. And there's also, I think, you build up your contacts when you first start out, and hopefully they're always there. So if you do need to stop and do it again, the right people in the right places to make it quicker and easier for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, we're kind of getting to the end of the show, but there's certainly like a couple more things I want to talk to you about before we get there. And one of them is female and masculine energies. And that's really all I can say about that, because I don't really know much more about it.
Yeah, so the masculine and the feminine energies, we have both of these energies within us. So whether you're male, female, you have both the masculine and feminine energies within you. So this has nothing to do with gender, but most of the time, males have a more dominant masculine energy, and females have a more dominant feminine energy. It could be the other way around, but we all have a dominant energy within us. And I can say that I'm a more feminine person and you're probably more of a masculine person. So all these energies, it's interesting how this applies to business, because the masculine energy is very structured. It's direction. It is, we make to-do lists and we execute. It's, you have these different steps to reach your goals. That's more of the masculine energy. And the feminine energy is more creativity. It's flow, like creating, different contents, you're writing different things, taking pictures. That's more feminine. So you need both of these in your business. So you need both the structure, you need the steps to take to reach your desired outcome, but you also obviously need the creativity part, and that's the feminine energy. So it's coming to balance between the masculine and the feminine energies within yourself, so that you can then bring that into your business.
Interesting. And then how would you go about balancing them out?
Within yourself, I mean, this is a lot of inner work that you have to do, but I think it starts by connecting with that in yourself, right? Because for me, for a long time, I actually wasn't connected with my feminine energy, even though that is what I am, because this society, this culture is run so much on the masculine energy. People are making to-do lists. It's all structured. There isn't a lot of that creativity and relax and flow. We don't have as much of that as the masculine energy. So I was in that masculine energy, taking charge, making decisions, like leadership and all that. So I was very out of touch with my feminine energy. So it took me reconnecting back into myself to realize that I have a creative side, and that's actually what I'm better at. Like, I am not as good at structure and decision making. That's more of a masculine trait. And it was coming back to who I really am. And I think that ties into the spiritual part of fitness, because this is a very, like, it has to do with the energy. So it has to do with your soul, because your soul has this, dominant energy that is out into the world. So it's getting to know yourself so that you can bring that then into your business.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Getting to know yourself, so then you can apply both of those sides. Masculine and feminine. We all have them within us. I know it took me probably until like I would say my 30s to realize like what my feminine side was, and to get in touch with it. And which I've always had. I mean, when I was brought up, it was predominantly all females in the house. So I've always felt like super comfortable in that environment, and no doubt, a bit of it rubbed off on me. So, but it's when like you're growing up in your 20s and you're out with the boys, you don't want to be like showing off your feminine side. It's almost seen as a weakness, isn't it? It's weird. But then as you come into your 30s and you become a little bit more mature and a little bit more like knowing of who you are and who you want to be, it's fine to let both those sides of you out. And I think that they are very good skills to apply to your business, because particularly for me, I have a business where that my main kind of target audience is females, is ladies, so I have to dial in to them and think, what are their needs, and if I put myself in their shoes, then how can I best serve them? So yeah, you've got to, and I guess that's particularly in the world of fitness as well. I don't know if I know you train women as well, but do you train guys as well?
I don't coach men on their physical fitness. I don't know how to do that, but I coach men on life stuff.
Yeah, well, the same thing, right? You've got to dial into your masculine there to kind of, in some regard, put yourself in their shoes a little bit. But that's really using both of them, because you've got to apply your femininity to femininity. That's a tongue twister. To get apply to their masculineness. It's a really interesting subject. I think actually it's a really interesting thing to explore. And another thing that I wanted to explore with you, and I really have no idea about this one. I had an interesting experience. I've had various interesting experiences with my ego and discovering kind of what it is. But I know that you know a little bit about the ego versus the higher self, and I'd love to hear like some more of your views and opinions on that.
Yeah, so your ego is a part of you that is ran on fear. So anytime you're saying, oh, what if this doesn't work out? Or I'm so scared to do that. Or what are people going to say? What if I failed? That's your ego, because it's coming from fear. And your higher self is a part of you that's pretty much your intuition and your soul. And that's the part of you that's saying, you can do this, and you deserve to make this work. You deserve to have this business. You deserve to make X amount of money. So they both exist within all of us, but most people are running on their ego. So their ego, that fear-based story, most people are running that, as kind of the driver of their life. So anywhere they go, they're saying, oh, I'm so scared that this is not going to work out. Or they're trying to start a business. They're saying, oh, what are people going to say? So they're mostly running on their ego. So it's coming to balance with these things and dialing your ego back a little bit and letting your higher self, your intuition, start taking over, so that you can start making decisions, based on what you know that you can do, you are capable of doing. So it's your ego that's telling you these fear and false stories and trying to get you to buy into all of these things to hold you back. But your higher self wants to move forward, and your higher self wants you to start that business and wants you to succeed.
Yeah, it's a bit of a battle going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, constantly.
Excuse me. I heard an anagram. I'm stumbling on my words today, which isn't very good for a podcast host, is it? I heard an anagram, but it happens, the second episode of the day. I heard an anagram recently that's fear, which is false evidence appearing real. And I was like, yes. And I remember I told my mate, I was like, have you heard this one? He was like, man, how haven't you heard that one? That one's not been around forever. And I was like, well, it's new to me. And I think that closely, like when you said there that your ego is kind of the fear side of your brain, like playing that out. I think those two tie in well, like ego, false evidence appearing real. It's all that kind of similar stuff.
Yeah.
Maggie, I've got so much knowledge from you today. I've really enjoyed having you on the show. But before I let you go, I'd love for you to give, I usually say 3 hot tips, but I'm going to say 4 based on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Perhaps you could give the audience like a hot tip on each of those, how to kind of get a bit more balance in your life on those subjects.
Okay. So I would say, let's start the physical. So physical, getting better just, means moving your body and finding this balance in your life where you're taking care of your health, but don't take it too far. Like, don't just focus on the physical. I think where people kind of get off balance is, you know, they think they have to stick to this extremely healthy diet and only eat rice, chicken, and broccoli, but you don't have to do that. There's a balance. Eat healthy to an extent. You can allow yourself to treat yourself once in a while if you really wanted to, but don't get into that, you know, restriction mindset, because I've been there when I was restricting and had my eating disorders. It showed me that when you take that to an extreme, your health is damaged. And I mean, it took such a toll on my life and my body that I just would never wish that on anyone. So don't restrict yourself. Don't go exercise like crazy. You don't have to do that to get results. And the mental aspect, I would say discipline is a really big thing when it comes to your mental fitness. And it starts with the small things in your life. So, for example, the way that I practice discipline in the smallest way is I wake up at 5:30 every day. And by choosing to do that every morning, I'm practicing my mental discipline so that throughout the day, when it comes to the bigger decisions, I'm able to have discipline. Because if you can't even do the small things, then you can't do the big things. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So practice more discipline. So for the mental fitness and the emotional fitness, I would say really just let yourself feel your feelings, because as a society, we like to repress our emotions. We think it's not okay to cry. We think it's, you know, not okay to be angry. But you have a right to feel whatever it is that you feel. And if you don't feel your emotions, if you just keep on repressing them, one day you will get triggered by the smallest thing and you start just lashing out on other people for no reason because you've repressed so much emotions. So just allow yourself to feel, because you have to feel it if you want it to go away. Because if you keep on repressing it, it's never going to go away and it's just going to be stuck in your body. And when it comes to the spiritual fitness, I think meditation is a good place to start. And meditation, people don't like to meditate when I tell them to meditate because they think, oh, I could be, you know, doing something more productive in those 20 minutes. So why would I just sit there for 20 minutes when I could be doing something else? But meditation is not about just sitting there for 20 minutes and you know, feeling anxious about not doing anything. The whole point of it is so that you can slow down and take the time to calm your mind, to calm your anxiety, so you actually become more productive throughout your day. If you just take 10-20 minutes in the morning or whenever you want to do it to calm yourself down. Because when you go into your day with that anxious state, you're not very productive, you're not creative, you're not making good decisions. So if you can just calm yourself down before you carry on with your day, I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's funny what you said there. Like when you're working with your customers, your clients, and you say to them, "Hey, look, we should do some meditation," and people push back against it because they're like, 20 minutes sitting there doing nothing. I could be doing something with that time. The value in it, like in doing it in the micro to then get that value in the macro of like, no, you're going to do that and slow down now. So so your decision making is better. So you've got more energy later. So you can handle things when they come up, which they will. That's called life. So much value in it. So much value in that. Like anyone who's watching, just like I would say, start with meditation. Perhaps start small, maybe just 5 minutes, even a minute, and then just, you know, as you get more comfortable, do more of it. But man, I just can't express enough how much value meditation's given me over the years. It's just such a and also just becoming peaceful with yourself, just with you, and not needing anyone else around you, any external, any outside noises. It's lots of value in it.
Absolutely. And, our minds are so busy all the time that we're, not at peace with ourselves. But it's through that quiet time, it's through being alone. That's when you find the peace.
Yeah, for sure. Maggie, it's been so good to have you on the show. Thanks for coming along and giving me your time. If people want to reach out and get in touch with you, perhaps, learn about those 4 things that we've talked about, the physical, the mental, emotional, spiritual side of fitness and life coaching, where's the best place for them to get in touch with you?
I am mostly on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. So it's at Maggie Dong _. So that's MAGGIEDONG _. And I also have a podcast called Mind Muscle Enlightenment. It's on all platforms. You can go listen. We talk about the 4 areas of fitness and your mind, body, soul. And if you want to work with me, I have a link in my Instagram bio that will take you to all of the things that I offer.
Awesome. And just like magic, all those links have appeared in the comments there. So if you guys are watching this on the video format, you can find the links there. If not, then you'll be getting this on Spotify and you'll be able to hear where to catch Maggie there. Thanks so much, Maggie, and Happy New Year to you. Enjoy that quiet bit of time over the new year. I know it's not going to be the typical new year, but I'm sure you can still find some enjoyment in it.
Absolutely. Happy New Year to you too.
Thanks so much. Take care.